The problem with advertising and making money from advertisements. The problem is that there is no direct correlation between advertising and and product sales numbers. Um, in the old days, when I did my films and stuff like that, and I had the Russian rope company and stuff like that, basically, or my rope company in Russia and other things like that, advertising was everything in that. Basically, people saw my ropes and saw stuff like that, and were actually, worldwide sales actually accounts for a lot of money and a lot of basically um, financial resources, as in people would see the ropes inside of the mostly they would see the stuff that my people used on the ships, and also the stuff like that, and they would ask about it. And like I say, my ships usually carried extra spare rope and stuff like that, and we would get it from the home base in Russia or someplace like that. I forget exactly where. But there were only like one or two rope manufacturers in all the world back in the old days. I mean, it wasn't really at least good rope manufacturers. I mean, there was a lot of other stuff. Anyway, I don't really care, and it doesn't really matter. But advertising in the old days, when you can apply it to the whole world, actually matters. And mostly, they would just see my ships and go ooh ah oh and think about other things that they could use the ropes for. But realistically, the ships used brand new ropes and stuff like that, and always had old ropes, which were still good ropes that were resold. So, anyway, Lucifer Star or White Star Lines. In the old days, it was known probably as just Lucifer Star or just Star, basically. STAR, and then Lucifer Star. It was my name, like I say. So anyway, though, and basically we had old sailing ships and stuff like that. And like I say, the big canvas sails, and then later on my sailing ships also had silk sails. Silk, like silk cloth sails. It was a very fine and yet really good material, which held back the wind. Canvas also worked, but it's heavy. Anyway, um, but basically there was silk, and pretty much I had silk sails on my ship just because I had so much silk, and I thought it'd be kind of cool. I had one or two ships that actually had silk sails, and it was more like just like a ooh, look what I can have. Anyway, eventually the sails ripped, and moths tend to love to eat the silk and stuff like that, so eventually they got eaten and are no longer in existence. Some people say that the first American flag was actually, or one of the American flags was actually made from one of my silk sails, basically. Anyway, who knows? It's all in legend now, basically. But pretty much my sailing ships used newer ropes or newish ropes, and the ropes would be replaced before, if they looked like they were getting worn and stuff like that. And basically, because I had a rope manufacturing company, so we'd put the new ropes on every couple of years, and basically sell off all the old rope, from each ship, re-rig the ship like every couple of years. I think there used to be an expected time amount for the ropes, basically. And then the ropes would have to be replaced, of course, much like cables. But they're still good cables, and they're still good ropes and all that other stuff. So basically, they would be sold to the public pretty much. And so, I'd build it for my ships, just like my ships. When my ships were starting to get barnacle eaten or rotten, or close to being rotten, they would be resold, and people would buy them and love them and basically use them quite a bit, because they were still very good ships. It's just that they had a couple rotten spots in the hull, so they always leaked water. But still, people, you can patch that. There's ways of patching it and stuff like that when the ships were getting old. And like I said, some of my ships, they were like 200, 50 or 80 years old, or 100 years old. Like one of my good old wooden ships would last, I think probably about 150 years. I don't really know. Like there are wooden ships that are literally like 1,000 years old. Of course, they had to treat them with oil and stuff like that. Anyway, though, whatever. I don't really care. They tarred up the bottoms and tarred up the middle sections and basically did all kinds of stuff to preserve the boats. And they still got eaten or rotten or whatever. Anyway, whatever. I don't really care. It's all in the old days, basically. But my old films and stuff like that. But that's how Lucifer Star had so much in common with films, because my ships were going everywhere, sailing across the open sea, with water and alcohol, and what they didn't use for the voyage, when they got to their destination, they would offload it, or whatever, and just have enough for the return trip or whatever. It depends, because there were we were selling stuff as well as just coming across. Usually we would do 2 times supplies or 3 times supplies or something like that. So basically we had extra supplies to sell. So sell a little bit and then come back, depending. Not many people had more than me, though. That's the thing. So anyway, though, about advertising, though. The problem with advertising nowadays is that there's no direct correlation to advertising and product sales. In fact, none at all. In fact, the only real direct correlation is basically convenience, how close the store is to pretty much where people buy it, pretty much. And a little bit of sonority or a little bit of discount or deals or whatever else like that. Like I said, the Gypsies, by the way, I love you. I'm sorry for anything bad that ever happened to you. You're a wonderful group, and I don't know where you are now, but basically I did know them in the past. Like I said, I gave them some stuff and some other stuff, and they're one of my loved groups. Anyway. There's a lot of bad stuff that happened, and I had nothing to do with it. And basically, they are a wonderful and amazing group that used to entertain my cities and towns for years. And I hope they made quite a bit of money and lived very good, happy lives. But at some point in time, that there were so many forces involved. Kings, queens, just police officer, whatever. And basically then there's the Gypsies, and I worried about them actually. And actually even thought that maybe they were extinct or had been killed, because some days, people generally tend to hunt people down, when they see a powerful group or whatever. And the Gypsies were wonderful salesmen and wonderful things. Like I said, the root of selling stuff probably comes from the Gypsies or something like that. Anyway, though, they were very good salesmen, very good tricksters, and very good at playing games. And, well, anyway, they were called bandits and all kinds of stuff, but they actually built a couple roads, and did a lot of other stuff. They get confused with circus performers and all that other stuff, but they're actually not really. I mean, they just kind of did that for the money or whatever, or just did that to give back to the community. Usually they were pretty well off themselves and owned farms or had land somewhere or whatever. I don't really know, the mysterious group basically. But at some point in time, people were, some people were chopping off hands and arms and legs and stuff like that. And, the world got to be a pretty bad place at some point in time. Anyway, but the thing is that there's no direct correlation to advertising and sales, nor is there a direct correlation between salesmen and selling a product. Even the best salesman in the world, except for maybe a gypsy, can't really sell something that's not worth any money. Anyway, though, whatever. And it all depends on whether or not the person you're trying to buy from or trying to sell to actually has money or has something to give. Anyway, though, but and the same thing applies to musicians. That's why most musicians aren't really insanely wealthy like most people would believe. Although if you can pack a concert and sell tickets, you can actually that's where performing and basically. And what's it called when you sell out or get 1,000 people to pay $60 a ticket, then you can usually make a lot of money. But that's the only way that they really actually made direct money, basically, on top of pretty much what I was paying them to write the songs in the first place, which really wasn't all that much money. I'd pay $1,000 or $3,000 or something like that for a song or something else like that. Like the Nutcracker was a couple $100 or $1,000 something for a team of people to write it. And then later on they went out and performed and made a lot more money off of the actual Nutcracker ticket sales. Performing in the cities and towns. Technically that's my money though, because I asked them to do it in the first place. But whatever, yeah. There's more important things to worry about. But anyway, though, but that's the thing about about ultra rich musicians, especially why you really have to go out and you have to actually perform to actually make real money. But there's also like combined deals where certain bars or whatever would do like deals with musician bands. But realistically, there is there's plenty of room for everyone, as most bars like to have live entertainment too, and it does attract the customers or people.